what's up guys? I've been wanting to make this video for a long time and I'm actually about to go to work, so I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible. This is the story of my first car. In the first couple of episodes of Project Integra, you see a gray Integra in the outro video and some of the actual videos I actually went into the car. So I figured I'd give you kind of an overview of what it was like owning my first Integra. So I bought my Integra in New Jersey. Iron Horse Auto Sales was the dealer. If you want to go there and buy a car, I really don't recommend it. But you know, hey, you do you. Go ahead and be my guest. So Dad, if you're watching this, which I'm sure you are, I just want to let you know that that car, it wasn't really a good car, Dad. Yeah, it was fun for like the first couple of months, but as the road went down a little further, it just started going downhill. So I really do appreciate you taking me there to get the car and everything. It just wasn't happening. I had to buy this one. And we both went to the dealership to go buy the car. So I worked at Sears for about 6 months, and within those 6 months it was brutal. I hate retail very much. Basically I was the guy that puts the sales stickers all over the place. Now if you know what a Sears store looks like, they're really large, so doing that for about 8 hours is not really fun, especially when your manager is a complete jerk. Thankfully he got fired though a little after when I left, so that kind of made me feel better inside. But anyways, I saved up about $3,700 working at Sears for about 6 months, which is kind of good considering that I spent about $10 every day on food at the sushi bar and McDonald's in the mall. So that's where a lot of my money went. I saved up all that money and I have no idea what kind of car I went at first, but around January, I started in November, but around January is when I kind of found the Honda scene and I started looking at all these cars, and I really liked the cars with the high spoiler, and then I didn't like the ones with no spoiler, and I kind of liked the ones with the mid spoiler. Later I found out the difference between the LS, RS, and Type R. And the GSR. And then I found the GSR and I really liked that one, and it kind of seems to appeal to everybody. Everybody wants a GSR when they first get into Integras. Nobody wants an LS and everybody knows they can't afford a Type R. I found a GSR for about $2,800 and I didn't buy it because my parents were like, no, you shouldn't buy a stick. No, you don't want a stick, it's your first car. And I was just like, I really want it. And that really messed me up because, you know, when you get something that you don't want, it's not fun. So I ended up skipping that car, and it had about 200,000 miles on it. It was white, it was perfect. Fast forward, I have all my money. I quit Sears and I'm working somewhere else now. We go in and I'm like, hey, we want to look at this car right here. He pops the engine and I bought the car that same day. We test drove it, and the first time I ever turned an Integra on, I was like instantly hooked. Once you turn on an Integra, even with the stock exhaust, it's pretty loud and it sounds really nice. So we drove it for about 10 to 15 minutes, and sure enough, you know, I was hooked at that point. Now here's some pictures of what the car looked like after I bought it. I think the day or two before, after I bought it. And they were asking $4,000 for this Integra. $4,000. $4,000, guys. Now, I reminded you, I had about $3,700, so we'll get to that later. I bought the car, and we talked him down $500. Now, I don't know why I didn't tell you this, Dad, but I only had like $3,700, and I was only expecting to pay $3,000. I wanted to talk the guy down as much as possible. Now, remind you, the KBB value, which I know means nothing, but it was going to be extremely hard to talk this guy down anyway, because the KBB value was actually about $4,000 because the motor had about 100,000 miles on it, and it was in, you know, somewhat of good condition, and it was on Steelies with hubcaps, and that was another thing I hated very much. It was brutal, man. It was brutal. I had probably way more problems in that car within the first year than I did with this car. I don't know if that's because I learned over time about what's good and what's bad about a car, how to fix this, how to fix that, but it was just bad. So I'm going to try to sum up everything I can within these next 5 to 10 minutes. I drove the car from there back home, and we basically just let it sit for the night. And actually on the way back home, we were at a red light and I kind of tried to gas it with him, and my radio just kind of went right out of the center console, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what that area is called, but it just came right out, and the radio didn't work to begin with. It was aftermarket, some cheap 90s aftermarket radio. So it was trash anyway, so I ended up taking that out and swapping it in with something else at Best Buy. But like I said, drove it home, let it sit overnight, fine, no problems. Next day, however, I believe we drove down to Maryland, and as I was driving down, I didn't realize that it was making a loud noise as I was, driving. It was like, woo, and I get down and somebody tells me, hey, you might want to get your car looked at because it sounds like you have a bad wheel bearing. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. I drove it around a little bit and I could tell what they were talking about, and sure enough, it was my wheel bearing. So that was like $300. Mind you now, I just bought this car. I just bought it, and I'm already, getting stuff fixed on it. I had an oil change done. That was cheap. They recommended that they said that I was due for a timing belt and water pump, and my oil pan gasket was leaking. And I was like, okay, how much is that? They were like, yeah, it's going to be about like $800 to $1,000. And I'm just like, okay, I just bought a bad car. But luckily, actually not luckily, I probably should have got that stuff fixed. But I'll get to that later. So I'm just driving the car around, and one day it severely overheats on me, and smoke is just pouring out of the radiator or the reservoir, the coolant reservoir thing, and I was just devastated. I was kind of mad because I thought I had a blown head gasket. Mind you, now this is only like within like a week to a couple months of owning this car that it did this, and I was just confused. I was like, wow, what kind of car did I just buy? So I basically, we put water in the car to get it to wherever we were taking it, and they fixed that for us. And then next, my exhaust actually had a exhaust leak in it, or a hole or whatever, because it was around my first Honda day, which was 2 years ago, 2014. I thought it was cool because my exhaust was loud just like everybody else, so I thought I'd blend in a little bit with the crowd. In my automatic, it didn't sound good, and I had to get that fixed, and that was about another $500. Yeah, I know, $500 to fix an exhaust doesn't sound right, does it? I don't know how we paid $500 for it, but they originally charged us $800 to fix it. Now this is at Monroe, up in South Jersey, so just completely avoid any Monroe shops that you see in South Jersey. Don't go to them; they're all scam artists and they'll rip you off. So don't go there. So that's another thing that we had to get fixed. Now mind you, the coolant problem is still there. I have coolant that I'm constantly pouring in the radiator to keep it from overheating. But little did I know that the actual radiator fan wasn't spinning this whole time. So it's around summertime and I'm using the AC, and both of the fans aren't spinning. So only one's spinning and the other one is not spinning at all, which probably means that it can't cool down the actual radiator and the coolant or whatever, I don't know. So basically, my car just constantly overheated throughout that whole entire year until towards the end of the year when I figured out it was like a relay or something. And then we eventually got it fixed, and it was like a $10 fix, and nobody knew what it was. So that ended up costing me a lot of money. So fast forward all the way towards the end of the year, probably skipping a lot of stuff with the car. My engine eventually blew on me, or actually I should say my timing belt went on me. So I bought the car in about February, and sure enough, it went in December. I was mad. I was really upset that happened. I got quotes for $1,400, $1,600, $4,000, $5,000, and I'm just looking at these people like, do you really expect me to pay that much for an engine swap for a 4-cylinder? A Honda, really? Come on, let's be real here. I don't want a rebuilt engine, I just want an engine in my car. So everybody in my family is telling me, oh yeah, it's gonna cost a lot of money, that's how much engine swaps cost, that's how much they cost, and I was just like, nah, I'm not paying it, I'm not doing it. I found these JDM importers. So anytime you blow an engine, never go to just your average mechanic to get a new rebuilt engine, because that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to buy a rebuilt engine for you or rebuild it themselves and put it in and cost and charge you all this money. Go to a JDM importer and get yourself a V20 motor. That's exactly what I did, and it cost me about $800 to $900 for a completely new motor that was swapped in, everything, charges, everything included. That's how much it costs. So I went to use JDM Engine Inc. in Halethorpe or Baltimore, Maryland, I believe. I really recommend that you go there if you're in the Baltimore area. Kind of avoid MD JDM Motors and Virginia JDM Motors and all those other guys. I really use JDM Engine Inc. because, you know, they really worked on my car and helped me out, because, you know, I wasn't ready to pay $1,600 for a swap. So did what I had to do, and I rode around with the V20 for about another year until I sold the car and bought the one that's sitting right out front. But yeah, that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's kind of cold outside, so I really don't want to go outside, but I have to work anyway, so I will see you guys in the next one.